Well, good morning, YouTube world. Calm and beautiful morning here in New England. Mid-December, almost late December, I would say. I had hoped that this morning I would be doing a video of a late season run away from Padanarum and over to Hadley's Harbor. There's a southerly gale forecast for tomorrow, and looking out to the entrance of Padanarum Harbor, that is due south. So this is not a great place to be when it kicks up strong out of the south or south-southeast. It tends to get pretty rough in here. Pretty big swells can roll in. Anyway, the thought was that I would scoot over to Hadley's Harbor in this brief lull before the gale. The problem is there is no return window that's evident before Christmas, and I've got obligations and family events. So the pre-Christmas cruise to Hadley's is scrubbed. Well, good morning, YouTube. This morning I have to come to you straight away with a confession. I lied. Okay, I didn't exactly lie, but this is a video that started out much differently from the way that it will end up. And maybe that's the point today. There's always a little bit of schizophrenia involved in the sail, do not sail decision. Backing up a little bit, I am here the day before the winter solstice at Hadley's Harbor, having sailed over last night against a light but not unpleasant, somewhat chilly southeast headwind. Truth be told, it was largely a motor sail, which I didn't mind so much when I got here and had a tank full of nice hot water for a shower. Anyway, as usual, snug as a bug in a rug in Charis's warm cabin. So, as you'll see going through this video, I was on the fence about this trip. The weather and wind yesterday were pretty nice. I won't say perfect because of the wind direction, but all in all, a beautiful day for this time of year. After some commitments, I literally left it to a snap decision as to whether I was going to sail out here. So why am I here? Well, we are experiencing right now, which you probably can't hear because my audio skills, as far as recording, are not much better than my camera skills. Anyway, it's a raging gale to storm condition weather event going on today. This weather event, as will happen in the late fall and early winter on a handful of occasions, came up out of the southeast, shifting south, with an eventual shift to the southwest as this system moves past us. Now, Padanarum is fine and well sheltered from the southwest. In fact, from pretty much every direction except the south and southeast. So the decision here was remain on my mooring in Padanarum and have no issues about sailing over upwind or being able to get back before the holidays. And what I would be facing right now with the wind direction of south-southeast to south would be very large swells that had built up and rolled into Padanarum from a 10-mile fetch or more running down Buzzards Bay or across from the island chain. It can get pretty bumpy, pretty unpleasant in the outer harbor there. I didn't lack for faith in my mooring system. It's held through much worse weather than is forecast for today. Today being forecast to top out in the gust range of, well, the low end is high 40s, the high end is high 50s on the forecasts. But the one thing I knew for certain was that if I got myself over to Hadley's Harbor, which is a 360-degree protected harbor, it wouldn't really matter when those strong gusts came in or from exactly which direction, because there's shelter from every direction. Part of the hesitation was not knowing when I arrived here, where most of the moorings are put to bed for the winter with winter sticks, whether I would be able to borrow a mooring for the weather event or would be trusting to my 45-pound Rockna. In truth, I was very happy to find one mooring vacant, and particularly to find it was the most heavily fortified mooring in the harbor. But the reality is I would have slept fine last night if I came in and anchored, because the holding here is good and my ground tackle is very good. So that turned out well. Anyway, the decision early yesterday was to remain in Paid Narum, but it turned out to be such a nice day, and it was so hard to resist the temptation. You know, at this time of year, you just don't know if you're going to get one more sail in before you finally have to pack it in and take the slip for the winter. So, all in all, it was a chilly sail. I did find myself jumping below for one more layer partway across the bay, but not at all unpleasant. Was, of course, done mostly in the dark, since we're approaching the shortest day of the year at this point. And it was done knowing that I have only the very narrowest of windows to get back tomorrow, as this wind shifts from northwest back around to the west and then southwest. And I need 3 hours to get back without a fair wind. The wind will be turning fair, and I will have approximately 3 hours before it turns into the next gale system at about 9 o'clock tomorrow night. So I'll take you along for that. But right now, I'm going to enjoy this peaceful, calm day here at Hadley's. Listen to the wind whistle by overhead, mostly blowing over my mast from above the treetops that surround me. And enjoying what may be my last visit here for this year. I never say never, but if it is, well, I'll go into the holiday seasons with my own form of good cheer from having managed one more sail. Well, this is encouraging. So I mentioned earlier this whole escape the southerly gale and Paid Narum pivot that I made a couple of days ago to run over here to Hadley's and find good shelter. It all pivoted on being able to get back in this very short, maybe 3-hour lull between the trailing edge of the system, the northwest winds, which were quite strong after the southerly blew through, and tonight, when it's going to come up to gale southwesterly again sometime around 9 p.m. So here we are now, midday. The forecast was for it to drop light from the northwest, 10 gusting 20, 25, and then at some point later in the afternoon to start to back around to the southwest. As it backs around to the southwest, that's our window of opportunity right there, because the course back is 300 magnetic, so a southwesterly wind will put me on a close reach, get me home in one tack, and if I time this right, I should have a pretty nice sail home in 15 to 20, maybe 15 gusting 25, before it kicks up around 9 p.m. When we'll have 25 gusting mid-30s. So the goal is to leave here as early as possible, so the sun's out and it's warmer, but not so early that I'm beating into the northwest. So when I thought I was staying in Paid Narum for this gale, I talked a little bit about my preparations for staying, and here's a little bit about preparations for going. What you see down here are my jack lines, which I removed for inspection and cleaning and service. Those are reinstalled. Don't always clip in, but I expect with conditioning is getting more brisk as I go into the sail back later today. It'll be nice to have the option. Also transferred fuel. The main tank still had 15 out of 20 gallons in it, but a full tank is a good tank. In the engine bay, I inspected the fuel filters, drained a little bit of water out of the one that's currently in use, made sure the secondary was ready to go. I was having a little trouble with the inductance ammeter from the alternator not reading, so I just installed a spare. So we know the alternator's working. And the next thing I'm going to do is take out, inspect, and grease the zippers on what my buddy Boothby likes to call the super suit. This is basically a Mustang work suit, dry suit inside of an outer shell with pockets. So that's the next step. I didn't wear this coming over the other night, and I kind of wished I had, but there's always a certain amount of trepidation when you get into this thing because of the zipper setup, and as you become old and arthritic like me, well, you end up thinking, please don't let them find me dead like this, as you wonder if you're going to be able to do the yoga that's required to get the zipper undone and get out of the thing. So the critical element in any of these dry suits is this waterproof zipper, and they can be really sticky, really difficult to zip and unzip. So at least once a year, if not each time I use it, what I'm going to do is slather that thing up pretty good with super lube. And some of you will say, well, yeah, doesn't it get on your clothes? Yeah, it does. I actually have a set of base layer that's pretty much the only thing I wear under this suit. These suits are great. There's a insulated layer inside. It's buoyant. It's got a inflatable hood. This is not the same as a Gumby suit that would keep you protected from hypothermia for much longer. This suit is designed to offer a decent level of hypothermia protection, but to be wearable while you function. Okay, so there are certain things that are inordinately more difficult solo than with another person on board. I put folding sails near the top of the list, but certainly the very top of the list is zipping yourself into your own dry suit. Okay, and one other word of advice. Remember when you were a kid and you were about to go on a road trip and Mom always said, make sure you go before you leave? Yeah, that. Definitely don't want to be climbing in and out of this more times than you have to. Okay, super suit is on. We load up our pockets. PLB, personal EPIRB, in one pocket. Cell phone will go in another pocket. Pocket knife. Harness. Vest. And tether. And then you feel like the kid in The Christmas Story who can't put his arms down.
What is it?
I can't put my arms down.
But nice and warm. And we've got the fur hat in case it gets colder, which it will as the sun goes down. Anyway, appears as though the southwest is starting to fill in here. A little ahead of schedule, which is good. It'll give us a mostly daylight trip back. I'm going to get the engine warmed up, get a reef tucked in the main. So a valid question might be why I tucked a reef into the main when it seems like such light wind. Two answers to that. The first is that inside here in this beautiful landlocked protected harbor, which is why I came here in the first place. You really can't tell what the wind is doing outside. It's usually quite different. The bigger reason, though, is that cold air has a higher density than warm air. Any pilot can tell you this. Certainly 15 knots of wind in December is probably closer to the effect of 20 to 25 knots in the summer. So I tend to go out conservatively reefed. So we go out reefed for bear, and if we get out there and find it's light, it's always quick to shake the reef. I suspect today the southwest is going to fill in fairly light to start, but then if the forecasts are accurate, which so far they seem to be pretty good, what we're going to see is towards sunset there'll be a pretty rapid increase in wind speed. So I'd rather go out and sail a bit light, use the head sail to provide the drive, and have the main ready for more severe conditions. So as I round the Wee Packet buoy, I feel less ridiculous about the depth of reef that I put in the mainsail back in Hadley's harbor. As you can see, I'm unrolled to about 100% on the head sail, at about the equivalent of a single reef in the mainsail. But anyway, it brings to mind the thought that in sailing and in life, you don't set your canvas for the calm you're in, you set it for the wind you anticipate. Well, December 20th, and so sets the sun on the shortest day of the year. And now I expect it's going to get a bit chilly. Well, the observant of you will have picked up the fact that I finished off the run back from Hadley's motor sailing. I found that the leftover slop from yesterday's gale, along with the variation in the wind speeds, it was probably 15, but it was gusting into the mid to upper 20s. We just weren't able to point quite as high as I would have liked to, but anyway, little assist from the engine toward the end there. Heated up a tank full of water and had a nice hot shower when I got in. All in all, pretty successful weekend, and well, I'm reminded of a quote from Henry David Thoreau, who I took a lot of influence from when I started sailing in my younger days. Something to the effect that I went to the woods so that when it came time to die, I would not find that I had not lived. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So thanks for coming aboard this week, and we'll see you next week.